but to see them, get involved in the passing, and just how pleased were you with their effort?
Yeah, I mean, we're not pleased with effort based on touches. So I think that's one of the things. It's one of our mottos is like how we can impact the game without the ball. That's what we put a lot of emphasis on. We know that's the one thing we can control, and we're put in a position to affect the game. We don't need the ball to impact the game. So I think the guys did a really good job of buying into that. I think Chamon did an awesome job. Like Mississippi State didn't have one target, one touch, had arguably one of his best games as a Sun Devil, and it's what he did with his physicality in the run game and pass protections, things like that. So that's kind of like our identity, and that's our standard. And so when you do, and we tell them all the time, if you do that, if you commit to that, to just playing hard and controlling what you can control, the ball will find you, and when it does, you'll be ready. And that's what happened against Texas State. Is the ball found Chamon, he was ready, and he made plays, and it was great. But we're not going to now all of a sudden change our standard and go, okay, well now we have to have touches to leave a game feeling good about our effort and the way we played. So we're just going to continue to control the things we can control. It starts with physicality up front, and that's our identity, and we'll build off of that.
Along those lines, Chamon obviously has been doing really well in the blocking game. How have you seen kind of that transformation? Because, sometimes people don't necessarily maybe want to put in that dirty work, but have you seen like him and his, perhaps being an example to others about just doing what you can to impact the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is you have to understand who you are, and you have to understand what your edge is, and that's been a term we've used a lot. And I think Chamon understands his edge is what he does physically in the core, in the run game and protections, blocking on the perimeter. Like that's what makes him really special. And so I think he knows that that's his ticket to having an opportunity to play at the next level. I think we spent a lot of time in the offseason trying to study guys that are playing on Sundays, like Charlie Warner with the Falcons, that plays a similar type role that makes his biggest impact without the ball. And then we obviously know what Chamon can do with it. He showed us last year, being second on our team in touchdowns, a big red zone target. He can stretch the field vertically. You can use him in the screen game. So, we know that he can contribute to the team in that area, but we know what really makes him special is that physicality. He's bought into that. He's embraced that. He takes pride in it. He wants to be the best blocking tight end in the country, and that's how he shows up to work every day. And I'm proud of him for that because I think that's what separates him.
You guys have gotten really creative with using your tight ends in 12 and 13 personnel. I mean, lining Chamon outside and then Khamari in the slot. Was that something you guys talked about going into the season, or something that's kind of developed?
Yeah, I mean, I think we felt really good about our tight end room and the depth that we had there with Chamon, with Harp, with Khamari, with the young buck AJ. And so I think we felt like we could get into some, multiple tight end sets, create some problems for guys, and not have to change our offense. Like we can do what we like to do in 11. We can do that in 12 and 13 because of the type of skill sets we have there. And so, yeah, I think we knew going in that that's what we wanted to do. I think right now we're like number 3 in the country in 12, personnel snaps this year, which is awesome. I mean, that's what you want. We want to build a room. Like I want our guys to know that, we're going to put our best 11 guys on the field, and if you guys show that you have the versatility to be able to impact the game in the core and you can flex out and be a threat in the passing game, then that means that there's going to be more snaps for tight ends. And so that's what our guys have been working for. That's a target of ours. And, I think at the end of the day, a good play caller is going to find ways to get his best guys on the field and take advantage of it. And whether that's 11, 12, 13, whatever that is, I just want our guys to be ready. And they did a good job this offseason preparing because, when you're just preparing to play Y and all you're thinking about is Y, and all of a sudden you go into 12 personnel, you have to know Y and F, and then all of a sudden you go into 13, you have to know Y, F, and Z. And so those guys did a good job of learning the whole offense, not just memorizing what they had to do, but learning the whole offense as schematically, and it's put them in a position to take advantage of the opportunities they've gotten.
As you mentioned, not necessarily, dependent on targets to impact the game, but how good was it, and what does it do for the offense to see guys like Khamari, Cam get some more targets in the pass game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it alleviates some pressure off the quarterback. Get the ball out of your hand quick. Know you kind of have that safety valve. That's what we should be. We should be the safety net for the quarterback, and then open things up. Obviously, if you're putting a lot of attention on JT and how special he is in the vertical pass game, and you soften up a little bit, then we can get the ball to 250, 260 pound athletes that can move in space, and those little dink and dunks, turn into 5, 6, 7, 8 yard gains, and then all of a sudden it turns into an explosive. So I think that just opens up our offense, and it was good to see us kind of get back to that. But like I said, we're not really putting a huge emphasis on that. We're just ready when it does come, and if somebody wants to take it away, then we know it's going to open up something for somebody else.
Looking ahead to this Saturday, what jumps out about this Baylor defense and some of the things they like to do?
Yeah, I mean they're big and long and athletic up front. They do a lot of stuff. They're very multiple with their front. A lot of quarters presentation, but they change the picture quite a bit. So, and then you get them, get into third down, and they get pretty exotic. So they do a good job. Obviously they've been in the scheme for a while. You see they've got some comfort effort with it. They know how to change the picture for an offense and to try to confuse you. I think the big thing for us is just identifying, making our points, making sure we're all on the same page, and then playing our game and playing fast. And if we can get lined up fast and we can execute at a high level, then we like our chances. But they're a good football team. They play good ball. They've been playing good ball last half of last season and so far this year. So it's a good matchup for us.
What do you think are some of the keys to maybe get off to a faster start than the last road outing?
Well, we got to establish the run early. We got to come off the ball and move the chains and get Sam into a rhythm and put him in the right kind of down and distance to stay out of third and long. We were so good on first and second down last year. We weren't in a lot of third and longs, and I think we got to continue to do that. So I think that starts with the run game and the short pass game and some of the screen game and things like that.
Chamon kind of talked about the pride in the run game. Have you seen that reflected, in your younger guys in the room and them kind of buying into that mentality?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's to play tight end at Arizona State. You have to be able to block. You have to be a physical presence, and if you're not willing to do that, you just will not see the field. It's just the reality. So now, if you show that you can do that, then you can see that, hey, we're going to be in multiple tight end sets. We're going to move you around. And we're going to find ways to get you the ball. And you're not just going to be in the core with your hand down blocking people. But the ticket to getting on the field to begin with is that willingness, is that the willingness to put your face on people. Not everybody's going to be as dominant at the point of attack as Chamon is, but you got to be willing to fight and scratch and claw and hold your own in the C gap to be able to earn your way on the field. And you see it. Khamari's done a great job with it. Cameron Harple's done a great job doing it. AJ, who's a guy that was never really asked to do that in high school, has kind of come in and go, I got to learn quick if I want to get on the field and play. So, but yeah, having Chamon as that guy at the top, that's the example for everybody of this is the standard for our room. We talk about violent details with hands, eyes, and feet. And that's everything we do is very detailed, but it's got to be violent. Chamon does a great job of that, and it's the example for the young guys. Like, hey, this is our all-conference guy. This is our guy that's playing 60-plus snaps a game. If you want to be that guy, this is the standard. This is the bare minimum standard of what it looks like. And then from there, your skill set can enhance that role.
To piggyback off that, I mean, obviously, Chamon gets in the end zone this last game. How did you feel like a monkey came off his back as he was coming to the sidelines?
No, because we don't put a lot of emphasis on that. The one thing I feel is what we talk about all the time is like we always make an emphasis on impacting the game without the ball. And then what I tell my guys is if you focus on that, if you don't worry about touches and targets and all that stuff, if you focus on making an impact without the ball will find you. And then when it does, you'll be in the right mindset to be ready to make plays. And I think it just reiterated everything that we've been preaching all off season and so far early this season. And to Chamon's credit, like we've never had a talk with like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Coach Arroyo to see if we can get you more. Like it never was that. We were just control what we can control. We were running the ball well. We know it's a huge part of our position. Our position is not predicated on stats. It's not predicated on yards and receptions and things like that. And so it just reinforced the things that we've been talking about. So it's a good lesson for everybody. Like, man, just keep bringing your lunch pail every day. If you do that, you will be rewarded.
And then I was talking to Coach Tuatelli too last week, and he said that a lot of times, like if there's certain drills or and Chamon's not in them, he'll be over with the offensive line. I mean, I know you've talked about his leadership, but just how big is that just to go over there and get those extra reps with them blocking?
Yeah, he loves it. He takes pride. Like we were doing a 7-on-7 drill today. He looked over and they were doing one-on-ones. He's like, man, I want to be over there. That's pretty rare. Most tight ends are kids that just outgrew the receiver position and, you had to trick him into blocking somebody. But Chamon understands what makes him special. Like I said, he knows what his edge is, and he takes pride in that. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see. I'm really proud of him for that.
And then as you get ready for, Big 12 play, obviously headed back to Texas last year, Tech, this year Baylor, but just rewinding and fast forwarding a year, how do you feel that the team is ready going into Big 12 play?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot about ourselves. I think you learn through adversity sometimes, and the way we responded in the second half against Mississippi State, I think we showed ourselves a lot. We also learned that, man, you got to start fast on the road. You can't dig yourself that hole because if you do, you leave yourself susceptible to one play. And that's what happened. We left ourselves, susceptible. If we would have started out a little bit faster with a little bit more urgency, maybe we don't find ourselves in that position. So I think we've learned about ourselves. I think, for us, every team, even if you return a ton, every team's got a little bit different of an identity. And I think that's for coaches early in the season, you got to find what do our guys do well? What do they not do well? What are we comfortable with? What do we need to hang our hat on? What do we need to get away from that maybe we thought was going to be something that we were going to hang our hat on in spring and fall, and now we get into the live bullets and it's not something that we want to do. So I think we've learned a lot about ourselves. We just have to keep growing and building and doubling down on the things that we've seen that we do well.
Is Chamon a guy the other guys in your room really look up to, Jason?
Yeah, they do, and I think it's the physical presence. The way he brings it, the way he strikes at the first level, that mentality of physicality and toughness. That's what we're trying to build our room around. That's really that's the blueprint for our room. And so those guys look up to him. They understand that's what it takes. And then if you can do that at the bare minimum, if you can play with the physicality that he plays with, then your athletic ability and your skill set and your ability to make plays on the ball just only enhances, your value as a tight end. And I think that's what I've tried to get my guys to buy into, and I think they have bought into that.